All right. So I guess some of the challenges I hear here as well, and it's true for our organization, is to how do you open up silos, so try to make it transparent. And obviously, MediaWiki is a great tool for that. We have SharePoint, for things that needs to be secure, needs to be only for people who needs to see that information. But there are places where transparency really is a value. So, I'm trying to communicate that. One of the area I think is open source, right? I mean, like we probably won't be all here together here today without open source and the value add for that. So how do you explain that to people? So I'd like to hear feedback, from you going through this. You already know the value. Again, this is to explain it to our users. So what's transparency? What does it do? I think transparency builds trust and it builds confidence. It surfaces problems, and obviously, if people can see it, we can offer a solution and how it could be corrected. It can improve processes and workflows. It facilitates certainly knowledge sharing, and with that, it enhances collaboration and enables new inputs and outputs. Think about that, inputs and outputs. I think I have this notion that everything in the universe is a function. And it's a series of functions. So we have our input with our senses, maybe a sixth sense or so on. But certainly we have our input and we have our output, right? Whether it's our finger becoming an input to the computer or our talk being an input to somebody else. And it promotes new ideas and creates new opportunities. So everything is a function. People are a function. You can think of that way, processes, and certainly technology. So there's a lot of developers here. So think of a replace function, right? You have an input one, a string, a target string. What are you going to replace that string with, and so on. And it creates a replacement, right? So take a function called replace, where you're replacing fun actions with a space A. What do you think is the result? Functions, right? Is that correct? Got that right? So now think about this one here. Replace tasks and fantastic with A. Any answers? Fanatic. No, it's not. Well, let's see. It says functions, but you look at the code, it would always return function. Anyway, how do you explain open source to people who doesn't code? But so I'm trying to think of maybe another way to explain that, right? Giving visibility to it kind of surfaces problems. Again, whether it's a service, people, technology, a building, you go into the building, right? We don't think of it this way. A building is a function. We walk out of this morning. Something happens in the building. We walk out differently. We certainly walk out older, if anything. But take vehicles, for example. If you decouple a pedal that makes it go, right? You add an engine in the middle of that. And same thing with hydraulics. You create a new vehicle, essentially. You can create a motorcycle from a bicycle, certainly an airplane. And if you put computers in the middle, by adding new sensors and so on, and gas, pedal, and engine, and if you put sensors, additional sensors, you can create a self-driving car. So having visibility into what would normally be a silo in the middle, in a way, becomes input to you, and you become input to that function. And you can inject new ideas, and you input and output out of that. And in essence, when you do that, you create a new function. And this cascades down at all levels, right? So you're going to have the silo, and maybe you don't know about it, you don't care about it. But organizations are made up of these groups of people, processes, and technology, and so on. And eventually that creates a general wisdom and consciousness. So, take the human body, for example. We're all made out of cells. The consciousness that we have, its individual cells in our body would never have that consciousness or never be aware of that consciousness. But together, put all together, you have this higher level of consciousness. And I think it's true with cultures, organizations, communities, and so on. Certainly that this community creates its own consciousness that individuals themselves can't make it happen. It can only happen with a group. So, and this other stuff that I stumbled on neural networks and deep learning, feel free to take a look at that. And again, this is just, take MediaWiki, where you have a pages that gets created by one person, a multiple of people. You put links to it, and you only created that page, but having it linked together creates this ecosystem of knowledge and information. So again, Transparent Functions does all this, and thank you.